And I wanted to share that and talk about a bit today and the next coming weeks. And that is how much of my life I've been spending trying to fix myself. And I want to ask you guys, have you been doing that same thing? Spinning your wheels over and over again about trying to fix yourself. And if you haven't read, I did an article, I think it was posted last week. Last week, I published the article here on Substack, and it was about fixing yourself as well as fitting in. But today, I just want to sit with the fixing yourself part of that article because as I was sitting back and I was looking at my behaviors and I was looking at things I was doing, I was like, wait, what's going on? Do you see a pattern? Right? That's the thing. Do you see a pattern? And I want to be really, really clear from the jump. I am not against growth. I am absolutely not against growing. But always feeling like something is wrong with you is what I'm talking about. That piece there. That's the part I'm talking about. Not the growth, not adjusting, not making some changes to make you feel more alive, more fulfilled, more of who you really are. That's not what I'm talking about. So let me share some of my story. It's like I've spent most of my adult life. Anyone who knows me, has had conversation with me, knows that I've spent most of my adult life working on myself and working on myself and working on myself. And it's been a lot of my conversation has been about working on myself and working on myself. And I've read books, I've done classes, I've done groups, I've done retreats, I've done all of these many, 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 many things. And I've built this tool belt. And here's another thing I want to be clear about. I love my tool belt. So I am not saying those things have not worked. I am not saying those things have not helped me. And I continue to use the things what I call my my tool belt. So I'm not saying anything against that. So let me be really clear on that part. But what I am saying is I had to stop and look and say, was I growing or was I trying to be worthy? Was I doing all this fixing so that I could be good enough, so that I could fit in, so that I could belong, so that I could be like this person or act like this person? Was I doing it for another reason? Choose me. Was I doing it for that? And when I sat back and I looked at some of those things, the answer to that question was yes. I had been doing all of these things, and it really wasn't for the growth. It was the worthiness was the underneath all of it, a chunk of it. Let me say that. There were behaviors, yes, that I needed to adjust and do that. And you, and as we grow and we learn about our lives, we know that. But there was a bigger thing gnawing at me. It's like a core motivator, I call it, that was working behind the scenes that I didn't even know about, that I wasn't even privy to. Because think about it, in our society, if you're working harder or you try to be more productive and you try to do a better routine and you're working on all of this and you're trying to fix all of this, everyone's going to pat you on the back. Everyone's going to say good because you're trying to be better. You're doing this better and you're working harder and all of that. And you're going to get the praise. But very few people, if ever, will ask you, why are you doing it? Why do you feel you need to do it? No one was asking those questions. Everyone was just, okay, you're working harder. You're trying to be better. You're doing all of this stuff. But the underlining thing there was that worthiness to prove that you should choose me. You should love me. I'm worthy of that. and that wasn't the right space. It wasn't the right place. It wasn't. So I wanna ask you guys, what are the things that you've been trying to fix? Have you been going through some of this thing in your lifetime where, you've tried to fix yourself, you've tried to work harder, you've tried to take on somebody else's routine and fit that into your life or make your life be that routine? Have you tried to work in the confines of some system that really didn't work for you? That didn't really fit who you are as a person. Have you become the project? Has fixing you become this major construction project? I love those renovation home shows and I watch it. We love the transformation from the broken down home to when it's all beautiful, the designer comes in and makes it fabulous. But have you become that project? Have you become this fixer upper? That every time you fix one thing, then there's another thing, and another thing, and another thing. Have you done that to yourself? Because I know I have. And it became an issue, but I had to pause. I really had to pause because it's like, are you having a relationship with yourself that you're looking at what's wrong all the time? That's your main focus in your relationship with yourself. Is when you sit still with yourself, you're pointing out all the things that you need to work on, that you need to fix. Has that become the relationship? Think about that. How does that feel? If every time you're sitting still with yourself, you're talking about the things that are wrong. You're focusing in on the things that are wrong. It seems like a kinda it doesn't feel like a joyous relationship. It doesn't feel loving and juicy and fun and exciting. It feels like the project, right? You're the fixer-upper. It's like, "Okay, let's sit down at the table." It's like, if those of you who have children, and you ever sit down with your children and you know you're gonna have a serious conversation or you have to reprimand them or whatever the case is, and the kids come to the table like, "Oh gosh, here we go. What do you wanna talk about now?" That's probably how you're feeling when you sit alone with yourself if you've made yourself this project. You're dreading the kinda quiet time, you're dreading the conversation. You're dreading it all because we've made ourselves these projects, these fixer-uppers, and not growth. Because think about it, when a flower grows, how excited we all are and how the flower even looks pretty as it's coming through the soil and it starts to bloom and bud. We're all like, "Ooh, excited," and the flower even looks just every phase of it is really pretty, and it gets prettier and prettier and prettier as it grows. But that's not what this feels like. It doesn't feel like that. It feels arduous, feels exhausting. And we've come to fix ourselves, and we'll like I said, we'll get into it later, probably to fit in some of it, but some of it is that underlining thing of what's going on for you. So I learned how to pause, and I learned how to look at and understand, because there's a difference between fixing and understanding. Fixing says, "What's wrong with me?" Understanding says, "What's happening with me?" Notice the difference. What's wrong with me versus what's happening with me. And that's what I did. I started to ask the question, what's happening with me? Very different question, very different feeling. Even if you asked a child, think about it versus reprimanding them and telling them and having that hard discussion, that uncomfortable discussion of, what they did wrong versus a question, "Hey, sit down. What's happening with you?" "What?" They'll probably be a little like, "What?" But that's a different kind of energy. It's a different feel to that question than the fixing question. right? Because fixing comes from a space of lack. Something is lacking. Understanding comes from, like, when you're trying to understand something, think of even body language. When I'm trying to understand something, I lean in, right? There's this engagement, this presence, this wanting of more, this understanding, right? There's this feeling of wanting more. Fixing comes from a place of lack and of hardness, of work, right? I'm working on myself, right? That whole phrase. So it's a very different energy between the 2. Very different energy between the 2. And so sometimes because we've been programmed so long to do this fixing thing, what I've learned to do is the pause. The pause. When something comes up for me, "Oh, I should be doing, oh, I need to, pause. You've noticed that you feel like you've done something wrong or whatever the case is, pause. Just pause. Take a breath and pause. Get a little space in there. And then ask yourself, what's happening to me? Because notice when you ask what's happening to me, there isn't a judgment in that. What's happening to me? Versus you need to fix something. Okay, well, what's wrong? What did I do? How did we go into this like shoulders up, anxiety, kind of stress, kind of worry. But if you ask, like, what's happening? It causes you to look around. It causes you to seek out because you're looking for answers. When you say what's happening, there's a search for there's a search that starts to happen, and you start to look for answers versus closing up when you feel like you've done something wrong because there's some shame and maybe some guilt, anxiety, worry. But when you're like, "What's happening?" We start to look around. We start to try to find answers. We're seeking them. We even start seeking solutions even versus the fixing, which is feels like admitting how harsh you are with yourself, right? Like, ugh. And what I found for myself that helped me to realize that I should pause and ask the question for the understanding was human design. And it's okay if you don't understand human design or whatever. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But it was human design helped me to understand myself rather than going at myself as this fixer upper project. It helped me to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, for example, I read a piece of my human design, a gate in my human design, and it talked about taking time away from other people and going and being quiet and doing my thing to be reflective, to get some understanding, to gain some wisdom and perspective on a situation. And it's how I recharge myself. And so for the longest time, younger, I would get irritated and agitated with people, and it's people I love and I cared about. I didn't understand then that I needed time away to recharge, to gain some wisdom, some under I kept wanting time away, and I'd be like, "No, I don't wanna do that today," or, "No, I don't wanna go there," or, "I don't wanna do that." People are like, "Oh, you're so cold. You're so distant. You must not really care about me." Those are all the things I kept hearing, and then I would feel bad because I did care about these people, and I was like, "Why can't I be like them? Why can't I wanna be around them more, and why don't I have this desire and need?" It find that I'm not made that way. It's not how I can be my best self, my real self, my true self. So then there was no fixing that needed in that situation. There's explanation and I can explain it to people. And now people in my life, because I can explain that to them, are clear and they understand. And now the conversations are agitated. The people who are around me who love me are like, "Do you need some time away? Do you need a break? Is it okay? Can we plan this? Or is this just people off?" Because I need with that and understanding that needed. I just had to be more me and understand me and allow me to be me. So then I become the best version of me possible. There was nothing to fix. I just had to understand it. And that's what human design was able to explain to me, to help me to acknowledge and give words to, and help me to explain it to those around me who I love and care about. So it's really cool. It was super cool. I geek out on human design. I absolutely love human design, and because of that is is I'm gonna lead to the next thing, is that I'm gonna be offering a 3-day event online, and it's a free event, and it's September the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and it's gonna be at 7 p.m. on the 10th and the 11th, and on the 12th, it's gonna be at 11 a.m. Yes, Eastern. All of it's Eastern time, and, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And you don't have to know human design, you don't have to know anything about it, you don't have to know your chart, all of that. We're not gonna go deep into it. We're gonna start day 1 is gonna be about understanding some of the things I've just talked about and shared about today, but we're gonna go a little bit more into that, understanding yourself. Then we're gonna go into trusting yourself, right? Feeling yourself out, trusting yourself, kinda getting a sense of, how do I move? What works for me? In day 3, we're gonna kinda pull it all together. We're gonna pull all of that together. So if you're interested in that, after this recording or underneath this recording, there will be the link so you to sign up for the free event. It's gonna be really cool. I am gonna record it, so if you're not able to do it on that time that I said, you're in a different time zone, whatever, you'll be able to listen to the recordings to help people to not do what I've done. I spent most of my adult life being this fixer-upper project, but now having more understanding and feeling alive and juicy and free to be me and having a better understanding of me, and that's what I want for you. I really want that for you. I wanna guide people into reading themselves and understanding themselves. That way you can be free to be who you are and come home to yourself and live from that space, not being a fixer-upper and not dealing with what we're gonna talk about next time, which is fitting in, that whole thing, and how that gets all kinda clunky and messy. But I wanna if you know me, you know I love giving homework. So I wanna give you something. I want you to try this out. I want you to next time you start shitting on yourself, you start, "Oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I gotta fix this. Oh, I can't be doing this." All that stuff when you start to try to fix yourself, I want you to pause. I want you to just take a couple breaths, and I want you to pause, and then I want you to ask yourself, "What is happening? What's happening to me? What's going on for me?" Just do that without judgment, without trying to figure it all out. Just pause in the moment. Get curious. Lean in, get interested. Instead of beating on yourself or blaming and trying to fix the project, just get curious, just become aware. And then send me a message. Let me know how that's going. Let me know of some aha moments or things that you realized or things that you saw. I'd love to know that. And like I said, for those of you who are interested, by all means, join me. Also, too, below this, I will put the link to the article that that I wrote about the 2 Fs you should say F off to. How to leave it polite and nice today. Um, but yeah, check out that article if you're definitely more interested in this. Have a phenomenal rest of your week, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.